And our next guest is the ranking member of the Oversight Committee, Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia of California. Good to have you here. Congressman, yesterday a committee spokesperson said they would be in contact with Bondi's attorneys to discuss the next steps. Is there any movement on that or in determining what those steps would be?
Well, we understand that Republicans and James Comer are having conversations with the former Attorney General. We want to see her come in. The subpoena is clear. It's for Pam Bondi, whether she is the Attorney General or not. Why she wouldn't want to answer questions about this incredibly important case to so many survivors and, quite frankly, the entire American public is bizarre. She led and has been continuing to lead a White House cover-up on the Epstein files. Survivors have been doxxed. Their identities have been exposed. Half the files, have still not been released to the public. And a bipartisan group from the Oversight Committee, all Democrats and a handful of Republicans, came together, put the subpoena in place for under oath testimony. This would be her first and only testimony exclusively on the Epstein files. The survivors deserve justice here, and she needs to come in and answer our questions.
You have threatened now to pursue contempt charges if she fails to appear. A DOJ spokesperson responded to that possibility, telling us that while the department remains committed to working cooperatively with the committee, Bondi's removal as Attorney General makes both the subpoena and the purpose for calling her moot. And I do want to say we checked the physical subpoena, which does have the language referring to Bondi by both her name and her title. How do you square with that?
Well, you square with it with looking at actually the motion that was actually filed by Nancy Mace. The actual subpoena motion made on the actual committee floor specifically said to the Honorable Pam Bondi, period. And regardless of what James Comer sent out, at the end of the day, these subpoenas, and it's legally binding, these subpoenas are for the person, regardless of whether they're currently in their position or not. And at the end of the day,
does one take precedent over the other? Sorry to interrupt, but
absolutely.
Just trying to understand, like, based on what you said in the language that was spoken, it didn't include her title, but then in the written word, it did. Which one takes precedent?
Well, look, actually, whether her title is actually in the document or not actually doesn't matter. Legally, at the end of the day, if somebody is under subpoena, it doesn't matter if they change jobs, if they have a job, if they don't, they're expected to appear before the Congress. We have also put in place interviews for former attorney generals. We interviewed Bill Barr, who was a former AG, and we had the Clintons come in, a former president and former secretary of state. So there is plenty of precedent here to actually get information. And at the end of the day, you have a person who is the person in charge of the release of the files, who said the files were on her desk. We're demanding the truth and we're demanding answers. And the fact now that the White House wants to play games and essentially continue this cover up and not allow her to come and testify, that's not acceptable. She must come forward. And if she doesn't come forward under her legal subpoena, which still stands, by the way, then we will hold Pam Bondi in contempt and we'll begin that process within the Congress.
The Washington Post had reported that President Trump's displeasure with how Bondi handled the Epstein files release played a direct role in his decision to replace her. Congressman, what do you make of the timing of her being fired 2 weeks before she was supposed to testify?
Well, I think it's very interesting, of course, that just 2 weeks before she was given the ability to actually share under oath what's actually happened and why these survivors have not received justice, she gets canned. And I think that's a real question. The real question is not just about the horrific crimes that Jeffrey Epstein committed, not just the horrific crimes of Ghislaine Maxwell, why she was moved to a less secure prison. These are important questions that the Attorney General needs to answer. She also needs to answer for this cover-up. Why this delay? Why haven't we seen 50% of the files? And she, more than any other person, has this information. So like I've said from day one, she now has an opportunity to tell us the truth. She has an opportunity to come clean, and she has an opportunity to do right by the survivors. That is what we want. And it's not just Democrats, by the way, it's Republicans as well. This subpoena was put in place. There were multiple Republicans that actually voted for us with us. And so we're expecting the truth. She's going to need to appear before our committee, whether she wants to or not.
Acting AG Todd Blanche also played an integral role in the DOJ's handling of this Epstein investigation and the files release. And he, of course, was Deputy AG during all of that initially. He was the one to interview Ghislaine Maxwell last summer. Would you be open to Blanche testifying in Bondi's place?
I'd be very open to both of them testifying. In fact, we would definitely want to have Todd Blanche in front of the committee. I would expect, but certainly if it continues as AG, I mean, he must come forward our committee. Now, look, Todd Blanche, as a reminder, was Donald Trump's former personal lawyer. That's the person now in charge of the Department of Justice. He personally met with Ghislaine Maxwell multiple times. He personally has said that this investigation is over and that the DOJ is essentially closing the book on this investigation, that there is no one to actually criminally prosecute. I mean, that's all just BS. We have men, powerful men, who are walking around right now. There's been no consequence for the abuse and rape of women and children. And the survivors, they just want justice. The American public, they just want justice. This is not a partisan issue. Everyone, Republicans and Democrats together, across anyone that I talk to out in the community, they just want the truth and they want the survivors to get justice. And Pam Bondi deserves, she deserves an opportunity to tell us the truth. And that's what we're fighting for right now.
Congressman Robert Garcia, thank you for joining us.